Good morning, everyone in the US, and good afternoon to all of you in Europe. My name is Pablo.zuanic, equity analyst at Zuanic Associates. I have the pleasure of introducing a panel to you on the German medical market. There were some big changes on April 1st, and we want to know what's happened over the last 6 months. We have the CEO of Canify, Sascha Mielcarek. We have the CEO of Cansativa, Benedikt, and we have the managing director of Demecan, Constantin von der Groeben. Welcome to all three of you.
Thank you.
Constantin, I'm going to start with you first. Just a brief introduction about yourself and your company, please. Thank you.
Absolutely. Pablo, thanks for having me. My name is Constantin von der Groeben, co-founder actually and managing director of Demecan. We are one of the early movers in the German medical cannabis market. Founded the company back in 2014, and I think have since become one of the leading companies in this, I'd say, 400 million plus euro market. We are the only fully vertically integrated medical cannabis platform in Germany. We've recently even built an end-to-end e-com system with a proprietary telemedicine, herbs care platform, and an e-commerce platform called Herbery. Provide for one of the top-selling products, medical flower, in Germany, our Demecan Type 1. We are one of the licensed cultivators in Germany, 1 out of 3, the only independent German one, and one of the very few companies that provide GMP services for other customers in Germany or outside Germany to enter the market in Germany. And I guess that it has been a success story, especially since 2020, when we went live. Since then, CAGR of over 150%. And I'm happy to be here and discuss the market with my colleagues.
That's great. Thank you. Benedikt?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Very much looking forward to this call. I'm Benedikt, co-founder and CEO of Cansativa Group. Cansativa was founded in 2017. We are one of the pioneers and first movers in the German cannabis space. Our vision is to enable cannabis, and we are building the largest platform and offer the most desirable brands and products in the market. What are we doing? We import, brand, package, market, store, and distribute medical cannabis. We move over 600 kg per month into German pharmacies, have also conducted the first exports into other European countries, have a portfolio of over 400 different SKUs, and are the leading one-stop shop in Germany. We have own-labeled products, third-party labeled products, and also exclusive licensed international brands in our portfolio with a net revenue of 4 million euros each month at a very strong net income margin.
Thank you, Sascha. Go ahead. And Sascha, as you talk about your company, also maybe for the audience that maybe not so that are new to the German market, just a brief overview on how the medical market works in Germany and about the changes that happened on April 1st. But first on Canify, Sascha. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Pablo. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so my name is Sascha Mielcarek. I'm CEO and co-founder of Canify. A couple of words to Canify. So Canify runs basically 3 business units. We have a GMP certified facility in the south of Germany where we do import and manufacture raw material from over 12 countries in the world for ourselves as well as for CMO clients. Our second business unit then is our brand, under which we market one of the broadest portfolios in the European territory. So we have dried flowers, so we are present in the cash market, but also a very advanced range of full spectrum extracts, purified extracts, and we'll be launching some innovative form factors very soon. Last but not least, we're also running our own teleclinic, which is basically a franchise system. We have under contract several physicians all over the territory in Germany and do facilitate interactions between patients in need and doctors being trained in cannabis treatment. Doctors is maybe also the buzzword and the keyword to briefly describe what the German market is looking like, especially maybe for the international audience, because Germany keeps being a bit special. So Germany, for the time being, is a sheer medical market. So cannabis is dispensed through pharmacies only. There's no dispensaries in the German market. We are talking pharmacies. The pharmacy can shop, or the patient can shop online, so product can be delivered to your home, but it's based on prescriptions and it's based on doctors recommending the treatment to a patient. That's legal since March 2017, where cannabis has been chosen as a narcotic. So it was a narcotic frame of law around cannabis, and that's the major change from my perspective as being leader of Canify. So it has been taken out of the what we call in Germany BTM ruling, so the narcotic ruling, and is a normal prescription medicine since 1st of April. You can compare it with an antibiotic, with a pain medicine. So it's still prescription medicine, don't confuse with OTC, but it's not longer narcotic, and that facilitates, let's say, the use of it, because more and more doctors dare to prescribe, because it's not a narcotic, it doesn't feel like a drug, it's not a special prescription, it's not the administrative burden it has been before. And that's one of the dynamics we see in the German market. You can prescribe a normal prescription medicine through telemedicine, which is not possible with a narcotic. And that's something we see booming, that now more and more patients do enter the formal medical market through teleclinics and through telemedicine, because it's simply easier than having a narcotic consultation with a doctor. Happy for my colleagues to jump in if I forgot anything important, but that's what there's more changes, but I think for us as companies, that's the most important.
That's good. Thank you.
Well, maybe to add one more element, which was crucial, especially for Demecan being a cultivator in Germany. Up until April this year, I would say 95% of the market in Germany was composed of imported medical cannabis, because we had a quota on our own domestic production. That quota was since lifted. We're now free to apply, and we did apply for other strains to cultivate in Germany. There's no quota anymore, and I'm very optimistic that we will see a lot more cultivation coming from within Germany.
Thank you. So we'll definitely cover the supply side of things in detail, imports versus domestic production. So let's start with the demand side. I'll start with you, Benedikt. Your best estimate in terms of how the market has grown, from call it March to September now. Pharmacy purchases back in the fourth quarter were about 5 tons. What do you think it's a run right now? I'll add a few more questions here, but touch on what you can here. Have prices remained stable since then? And I'm comparing, with pre-April 1st. How has the cash payer and the reimbursed market grown? Can you describe the growth trajectory since April? Was it one-off? I mean, a big jump and then steady, or continued growth? Changes on getting a prescription, the ease, and how much of this demand growth has been, in your opinion, driven by new patients versus prior patients that are just buying more now? I know there's a lot there, but the idea is to cover various aspects of how you see demand playing out in terms of what's happened. We'll discuss projections later on in the call. Thanks, Benedikt.
Yeah, great question. So first of all, we see a doubling of the market since April. Obviously, there was kind of a big jump as of 1st of April, and also afterwards, we saw continuous growth. To give you like some estimates, I would say that we are on a monthly base, have a market that is addressable 3 tons or even more. We see that this is even growing, so we see a lot of momentum in the market. Obviously, we also see that there is quite new players that got also online, kind of new product offering also played a role. The good thing for us as operators is that the price points were rather stable, and I can give you quite a few examples where we actually increased pricing, which means it is at the moment, due to the massive demand, not as much a buyer market anymore as maybe in the past, which is good for us as the operators. And we also see that the market growth really was mainly driven also by self-payers, because before April 1st, we would kind of expect that the self-payers maybe made up 60% of the volume, and 40% maybe the statutory health insured people. Now we would rather see like 70% and maybe even more that are self-payers. So we see a lot of momentum, a lot of dynamics here, and actually even more growth ahead, especially for the last quarter of this year.
Right, Benedikt, can you just stay there in terms of for patients, how have things changed in terms of the ease of getting a prescription?
I would say I mean, in the system, you have normal doctors, you have telehealth providers or clinics, how Constantin and Sascha explained earlier. We see that a lot of growth really came from telemed health platforms. And we see that there are like 20, 25 different telehealth platforms in the market, really driving a lot of the prescriptions. We see that the whole process of getting a prescription is significantly easier than before 1st of April due to the new regulation as a non-narcotic. It's a seamless and very easy patient journey. And we see that the easier the access to the prescription is, the easier is actually then the sale in the pharmacy.
Thank you. Constantin, the same set of questions for you, the demand side of things.
Yeah, what's there to add? I think I share most of Benedikt's views. Maybe another insight that we get from one of our shareholders, they sell papers for roll joints, for cigarettes and joints as well. One of their focus product is a long paper. And their sales have gone up to 20 to 30%, which tells me in a way this could be new consumers, not only a shift from the illicit market into a legal medical market, but actually attracts people to try cannabis for the first time now that it is illegal. So I think that's also another aspect, an important aspect to bear in mind. And then again, I share Benedikt's view on telemedicine, helping to increase the market. I would also say market growth 20 to 30% every month since April, fairly steady, fairly consistent prices, actually even an increase in prices because there is a shortage of some supply. I think we all underestimated that on day one, people knew that medical cannabis is now an avenue to get good quality product. And telemedicine platforms and online pharmacies have since helped to build a convenient network to get access to it. And I think we all benefit from that. And I think this will last for quite a while in the future because there is no easily accessible recreational market at the moment, as Sascha explained.
Understood. Sascha, same question for you. I mean, I think at CB Expo in Dortmund last week, you sounded a bit more bullish than Benedikt. Sascha, I think you talked about 4.5 tons to 5 tons a month run rate right now, but go ahead.
And I would repeat that statement so that, well, I agree to everything said. Let's say, as we are talking about the cash market mostly, it's very hard to guess it. And there's no data on that part of the market, or even better to say the Market Research Institute struggle a bit to cover that type of the market. If I just make the math adding, so Benedikt was spelling out 600 kilograms. If I add what we all do in the last months, I would even be a bit more bullish and believe that we are above 4 tons as we speak. But we are basically agreeing that we double or even grown the market more. I also agree on the mechanisms. As I told you, we are running our own teleclinic. And if I look at the growth of that teleclinic, I can confirm that this is the motor of the current growth. And prescriptions and new market insiders are coming through that mechanism. I have a slightly different opinion on pricing. I also agree we didn't have to change the prices, but if I look at the source of growth, it is not the high price product, right? So the premium segment is also dynamic, but a bit more stable. And what is growing is the value segment. So who today has access to good product supply at an accessible price? I think that's the segment which is mostly growing. So the average price might have gone down, but I once again agree my per cultivar pricing I didn't have to touch and sometimes can even increase.
Just staying there on that point, Sascha. So when we talked about, things are easier for patients, maybe talk about that doctor-patient dynamic in terms of what, are doctors more willing to prescribe than before, or is it new doctors coming into the system? And same thing with patients, are they like pretty much, someone told me for the cost of a coffee and the click of a button, I can get a prescription. I don't know if it's that simple, but just if you can expand on that.
Well, in the Canify clinics, it's not that simple. But yeah, let's say I would describe it like two different markets. You call it the cash market, so the self-paying market, which is mainly dried flower market. That's a market where an informed patient meets an informed pharmacist and work with the physician on a prescription. So the patient journey is more coming from the patient and or the pharmacy. And the doctor needs to issue the prescription, otherwise you don't get a product. But he might be discussing with the pharmacist and might be influenced by the patient himself. While the medical market, which is maybe less a flower market, more an extract market and a finished good market, is still the classical pharmaceutical model where a patient comes to a doctor who is convinced of cannabis therapy and he might or may not prescribe cannabis, even to cannabis naive patients. And those two markets you also have to address by different channels, by different sales models, and both exist in the German market. The self-paying, repeating myself, more influenced by the patient himself, while the prescription reimbursed market is maybe more doctor driven.
Understood. Thank you. So we'll move the discussion now to the supply side. Constantin, I'll start with you. Let's talk about the domestic supply, right? Demecan, Aurora, and Tilray were the only three companies licensed to grow. I think the quota in total was 2.6 tons. You have to sell that through a bee farm, through Cansativa, I believe. But just explain how that system has changed and by how much are you able to increase production right now yourselves?
Yeah, so this system has totally changed. There's no procurement process anymore in place, and we don't have to sell to the cannabis agency to bee farm anymore. We can choose whichever cultivars we want to cultivate, apply for them just in the same way we would apply for an import of these cultivars, and we sell them at market price to the pharmacies. Of course, this change has been implemented since April, but it takes a little time to be actually active. The first thing we did, April 2nd, was hand in an application for further cultivars to cultivate in Germany. That means we have a capacity of 2 tons annually that we can cultivate in Germany as of now. That was capped at 990 kilograms. Now, of course, we'll max out our capacity. So by this time next year, we'll be on an annual run rate of 2 tons and probably also further build out the facility to go all the way up to 4 tons. If I look at the numbers that Sascha just gave me, that's just 1 month of production or 1 month of demand in Germany. So we'll be able to provide 1 month worth of demand at the current system right now. I think we are the first ones to do that, to actually have been granted a license and to cultivate under the new license. Just on Monday, we did our 101st harvest, domestic harvest in Germany, and that was the first one of these new strains. Tomorrow, we'll do the 102nd harvest and the second harvest of the new strains. So I think I can announce that in about 2 to 4 weeks from now, we'll have the first new cannabis cultivated in Germany in the market, ready for sale at the pharmacy. And that tells you that this is part of the advantage, I think, of the domestic cultivation. The route to market is much quicker. The time from harvest to sale is faster. 4 weeks, 6 weeks, we'll have just fresher product in the market. Yet again, there's only 3 existing facilities up and running in Germany, and it will take some time to build new facilities in Germany. So for the foreseeable future, we'll definitely also need imported medical cannabis in the market.
Right. So look, obviously I'm not going to ask you to speak for Tilray or Aurora, but if you talk about that total domestic supply that used to be 2.6 tons, you said your case, almost a ton going up to 2. So you think in total, if the quota was 2.6, and I know the quota doesn't apply anymore, so we could be at 5 to 6 tons in a year's time in terms of domestic production at best. Is that your estimate? I know that you're factoring 2 other companies there in answering that.
I don't know to what extent Tilray and Aurora have excess capacity, or they still early have to do a build out first. I don't know that. But I guess best estimate would be, yeah, we can go up to 4 or 5 tons annually next year. And if we all start to build out the facilities, maybe have new facilities coming online, that number might go up as well.
Right. And Constantin, do you expect other companies to apply for domestic production licenses? And I wonder, how long it will take them to ramp up. But any thoughts on that?
Well, our legislature in the law, they put a number there. So their expectation is high. They expect to have close to 100 domestic cultivators for the medical market set up shop in Germany. I think that's exaggerated. It is a lengthy and quite expensive process to build a facility. I would say it takes up to 2 years to have anything up and running and GMP certified, because it is a GMP certified facility. Maybe we'll see another 2, 3, or 4 more facilities. And then it really depends on the development and the growth of the market. And if we can demonstrate that our product is fresher and better and still at a very affordable price, then I think more people will look at actually cultivating in Germany and nearshoring product from here.
And before we move on, there's always a question mark in terms of cost, right? Can German cost compete with imports from Portugal, Canada, or elsewhere?
Yeah, we can. The first reason is it is not much more expensive than cultivating in Canada. Why would it be? Labor and energy costs are very comparable. I guess actually our labor costs in Germany are lower. And most importantly, you cut out the middleman. We sell directly what we cultivate. We don't need a wholesaler. And as much as I like Benedikt and Sascha in their business, you don't cultivate. So you have to make money. The cultivator has to make money. we cut out the middleman, we can sell directly to pharmacies, and that gives us a huge margin benefit.
Understood. Thank you. Sascha, moving on to you in terms of imports, I guess a few questions here you can cover. Can you find enough reliable and consistent supply overseas? How many suppliers do you work with, if you can disclose that? What explains the Canadian advantage, right? I think Canada accounts for 50 to 60% of imports, at least in the second quarter, and other countries catching up. In the past, to my knowledge, about 40% of imports were rejected or destroyed or re-exported. Do you think that has changed now? Any thoughts on that? Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Pablo. To the first question, yes, we can secure international supply in sufficient quantity. So we are importing now from 12 countries and very different suppliers. We all select them very, very carefully. We would audit and qualify them with our own team. So we make sure that we pick suppliers with good quality, who meet specifications, who meet GMP requirements, and this is important in the current dynamic, can also sustainably supply. Because the last you want is to import and distribute a product which you can't replenish. You have patients in need which are on that product, and you couldn't be able to sustainably supply. So we make very sure that we meet suppliers who can meet and satisfy our demand. You mentioned Canada. I think it's still one of the major suppliers, although we have most recently also qualified African, Latin American suppliers. We also see the Portuguese landscape growing. We see more and more European sites coming online. So I wouldn't believe that we depend on Canada, but maybe because of the legalization in Canada, there's a legacy and a volume which made them become the market leader. And if you look after craft quality, let's say after the US, maybe it's the country where you find, let's say, the most premium cannabis these days, which kind of explains why they are at the forefront right now, even though, let's say, importing over the Atlantic Ocean is not a simple undertaking. So maybe they are also challenged more and more by countries which are a bit easier in terms of supply chain. Which brings me to your next question, the destroy of cannabis being imported. I think there's some, let's say, non-accuracy in all this data, because the BfArM also reports extracts in a certain formula being imported. So what the actual amount is, you never exactly know, because it's a bit of a secret. But I think some of the 40% you mentioned, and I don't know if that's the real figure, is because in the past, some companies imported too much product, and then it runs out of shelf life, and then there's a moment where you have to destroy it. And I think we saw that happen in the past. That is also in part explaining the price compression, because we saw a situation where then desperate companies who were sitting on short shelf life were pushing product into the market. I think we are over that a bit. Benedikt called it, I think, now a demand or a supply-driven market. So we do see more demand, which makes it easier, let's say, to download the material. I think now our joint task is to bring more inventory into the country. So I think we will see a peak cycle where we are all now importing. We will see a lot of supply again, and then maybe some price compression, and then we have the next import cycle, right? So it will be also a joint responsibility to now hit the right numbers, right?
Sascha, will you be applying for a domestic production license?
I will not.
Why not?
Let's say, well, we are very happy with the situation we are in. So to have access to several and different suppliers, I take as an advantage, because I am, let's say, buffered against any shock, any problems I have with one supplier. I have 11 others, and I basically delegate the responsibility of product quality to people who are more experienced in doing that. I think it's a business decision. In my numbers, it is not my first expansion step, but let's say Constantin puts it in a way, and I know him for long enough. They have a different business model, and I facilitate them. I congratulate them for it. To me, it doesn't make much sense, because I have a very stable and selected supply chain. It wouldn't give me added benefit if I were to establish one.
Yeah. Before I move on to Benedikt, I mean, Constantin, in your case, you also were importing product, right? It wasn't all your own domestic production that you were selling, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And that is, like everything else in this market, driven by regulation. When we started the company originally, we thought it would be a domestic cultivation only market, just like it is in Canada, just like it is in the Netherlands, right? And when then we won the license in 2019, and we saw more and more imports being allowed, and the exception becoming the rule. Of course, as a businessman, you then look at, like, how can we benefit from this? We actually sued the government, but this is a lengthy process. In the meantime, we thought it makes more economical sense to also start importing. And to be honest, I would say 70% of our revenue, at least last year, was coming from imported cannabis. And maybe one comment on Sascha's note. Our facility, just a hardware setup, it was 18.6 million investment, subsidized 30%. So it was a little cheaper for us. But of course, there's not enough cash right now in the market for even any such investment. So I don't think this is a question that people can really ask themselves to build this facility, especially if you do have access to global cannabis, even by the detriment it being maybe more expensive or quite a hassle to get from overseas to Germany.
Right. Thank you. So Benedikt, same question for you in terms of, how are you balancing imports versus perhaps plans for domestic production? Just discuss your supply chain. So some of the same questions as Sascha, I'm asking you first. And then I want to cover some questions about SKUs in the market, but just about your import strategy first.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, we're not in the business of cultivation. We're not planning to step into that. I see the point of Constantin and his view on the market, and also value that view on the business model. For us, we want to focus on just a particular part of the value chain. That's our key part of the business. We believe a fully integrated model with all also the downsides is nothing where we want to be engaged in. We believe that we can leverage our global supplier network and also benefit from low-cost opportunities because they are out there. A greenhouse grow somewhere in a low-cost country might have a lower quality output than maybe Constantin's site in Germany, but it also comes at a significantly lower price. So I want also to leverage on that. And of course, we believe that there are premium, really top shelf growers somewhere, for example, in Canada and also in other countries that have like many, many years of experience and can very superior product at a reasonable price. And having said this, we have over 40 suppliers, 15 different countries, and obviously 99.99% of our revenue comes from selling imported products. Right. And as mentioned, like in the beginning, in the past, we've been also the only and exclusive distributor of domestically grown cannabis. We did this as a service on behalf of the cannabis agency. This part of the business is not of relevance anymore, but also hasn't been already for the last few years.
Understood. Look, I want to stay with you, Benedikt. If you can discuss what we call the wholesaling/distribution side of the market. I mean, back in the day in Australia, I think there were big wholesalers that would buy from importers, and then they'd be the ones that bring it to market. Is that a thing in Germany in terms of there are small import? There are, I think, 100 licensees to import, but maybe they don't have the distribution capabilities like maybe a Canify or yourselves. So are there wholesalers, and do you also do that? Buy from other people that are importers, but that don't have the capability to bring the product to market, so you help them do that. Is that also part of a business model, or that's not really an opportunity there?
No, I think that's a fair point. So what we do, we import and sell product. We import bulk, label this with like an own brand or a licensed brand and sell that. And obviously we also buy product that is imported by someone else and released to the market by them and help them to get this on our platform and offer a unique service to pharmacies because they can buy all their products, all their different SKUs at one source, which is Cansativa. We have over 90% of the products that are available in the market in our portfolio, which is a strong differentiator. And this is also our view, being an aggregator and a consolidator of products in the market is a very valuable business model. We see at the same time that the complexity of products really grew over the last few months, especially last year we saw around 150 strains in the market. As of now, we would estimate there are maybe 250 strains in the market, not all available at the same time. So you have some availability variances, but we see that end of last year, there were maybe 400 different SKUs if you take also the jar or pouch size into account, and now there are maybe 600. So for the pharmacists, it's getting more and more complex. They want to get the information from one platform, which we consider to be Cansativa as a very strong partner. And you mentioned 100 different importers or licensed companies. There are maybe, I would say, 10 that are of relevance in the market. 3 of them are on this call, and there are maybe another 7 like Canamedical, Cantourage, Inua, Sanity, and the Canadians that play a significant role. And the others are just by far too small to be in the long run successful with a direct sales business.
Understood. That's great. So I'm going to move the discussion out to the pharmacy side. You know, we're hearing different things that they have become a bottleneck, that they are slow at filling prescriptions. I understand that pharmacies must have a pharmacist. I'll start with you, Sascha, but is it so that pharmacies are part of a bottleneck right now, that sales could actually be, that the demand is actually higher than sales, but pharmacists are being, you know, slow to fill prescriptions and maybe disappointing some patients that are just not buying the product? If you can expand on that.
Yeah, well, we are not running own pharmacies and we are not allowed to, so I can't really, let's say, I'm not into that business, but yeah, heard from the market that maybe the growth we have seen since 1st of April is a bit beyond of what people expected. And that led to certain bottlenecks on several levels, and that would include the pharmacies. So yeah, we have heard of patients waiting very long for their product. We have heard of queues of patients in some pharmacies who were not filled. And if you look a bit into the past of the German market, 80% of the market, of the self-paying market, we always have to be careful that there's 2 market segments. The self-paying we are discussing here right now is dominated by maybe 25 to 30 pharmacies, right? Who do 50% of their business online. And those pharmacies, well, I can't quote them and they behave differently, but some of them got a bit into difficulties to cope with the patient demand, which brought us to a bit of an expansion of the pharmacy market. So this bottlenecking now led for new pharmacies to come a bit online into the cannabis market, which I honestly enjoy very much because it has a bit of a relieving effect on the pricing models as now more players enter. So I think still everybody gets his or her medication, but yes, we had some hiccups on several levels of the supply chain when the demand exploded as well.
Right. Constantin, do you want to make any comments in terms of how the pharmacies are behaving? And are we seeing, is it true that most of the growth is coming from the online pharmacies?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm with Sascha that there's 15 to 20 pharmacies mostly running an online business that are the relevant pharmacies. And that's already an increased number. It used to be maybe 4 or 5. So we see a lot of new pharmacies understanding that they can do a very profitable business by online distributing medical cannabis, and they get the prescriptions from the telemedicine clinics. It's fairly easy, and some of the pharmacies we speak to, they do between 100 and 400 medical cannabis prescriptions a day, and that's quite lucrative for the pharmacy. So I expect to have more pharmacies come online.
Benedikt, anything you want to add on the pharmacy subject?
No, I can really agree. I see also that for many pharmacies, this was really a stretch. But moving maybe 200 kg a month, that's nothing what you just do like as a side hobby. It's big business also for those kind of businesses. Some of them were rather small in the past, scaling up very rapidly. And I just can support what Sascha said. More and more pharmacies getting online and they're super excited. And that's also one part that is very important to us, enabling new pharmacies entering into the market, guiding them in a very complex market, making the right decisions, helping them and scaling them super fast, which is very important to all of us.
Right. So staying on that point, Benedikt, I mean, you talked about, you know, I think all of you talked about mostly 10 big suppliers that really are the ones driving the market. So if I'm a pharmacy, I have to pick up the phone and call each one of those 10 suppliers to see what they have. Do they have to go to their websites? Just talk about the dynamic. How does the pharmacy buy and interact with those suppliers? Because you mentioned you have your own platform where I think you have everything shown there, but just talk about that if you can.
Yeah, so I mean, at the end, it really depends on the size of the pharmacy. But let's say it's a rather sophisticated pharmacy that has maybe a specialized purchasing guy or department within the pharmacy. They would probably address all of the key suppliers, have individual negotiated deals on specific products. I think this category of pharmacists exists. Then there are like maybe the mid-scale pharmacies that make 50 kg a month, and they are just happy, for example, to log in on the Cansativa platform, see what's available, put everything in their basket, and then shop super smooth, easy, and very fast and swiftly. And then obviously from us, we have fully integrated system into like many pharmacies in the German market. They get like on a 15 minutes push all availabilities delivered into their system, and they actually can put this on their own websites, which can be then actually shown to patients that they get real-time data, what is available. But as I said, it really depends on the particular pharmacy. And I know a bunch of pharmacists that really enjoy working with us because of some of the benefits that I just mentioned, but I also know a few that really enjoy to work with the manufacturer, with direct sales, because maybe they get the latest news, the best deals, or they have long-term relations with those companies, and those also exist.
Right. If I'm a small pharmacy buying from your platform, can I have the product in your website delivered to the client door, so it doesn't have to, so we can skip the pharmacy a step or not?
Oh, this would be great, but actually it has to run through the pharmacy. But at the end, if you're a patient and hand in a script, let's say online on a certain pharmacy that is a partner pharmacy of ours, this script would immediately trigger a order from the pharmacy on our platform. We deliver it overnight to the pharmacist. They would process it and then send it out to the patient via mail, or hand it out if it's a on-site visit. But there are also pharmacies that just have a lot of volume at stock. So I can give you many examples of pharmacies that buying 20 or even 50 kg on a weekly base, they store that and they can really process and serve prescriptions on the spot immediately, maybe in minutes or at least in a few hours, and get those products out to the patients very fast.
Understood. Thank you. So look, I have questions that are coming in online. We also want to cover your views on projections. Want to go into more detail in terms of the behavior of the patient/consumer in the cash market. But let's focus first, and without having to repeat yourself, each one of you, in terms of the major changes you have had to make since April 1st, to adapt to the new market reality. I'll start with you, Constantin. I know we've touched on it, but just some changes you had to make.
Yeah, so listen, April 1st was really a tipping point, or actually March 22nd, when the decision was made. We have since grown this sales massively. We had to look for more supply because we were kind of running out of stock. We have since applied for a cultivation license expansion, increased the cultivation, and we've done another fundraise, which we completed in July, to finance this whole growth and expansion. So I'd say everything in the world of medical cannabis in Germany changed as of April 1st or April 2nd. And I think everybody, every boats are rising, it helps everyone. For us, it was a particularly good time.
Sascha, same question for you.
Yeah, similar. So again, we have to cope with growth, which is a nice problem to have. So we are simply expanding our resources. We have expanded our supplier network. We have expanded our inventory. So we are coping with very strong growth. We proudly broke even mid of the year. So we are also running profitable business as we speak, which is nice to have and gives you the working capital to keep on the wave of growth. So very happy with what is happening. And let's say as a focus point, basically looking at expanding our sales force, expanding our commercial capabilities to run with the wave. And at the same time, in our case, as we manufacture GMP certified on the German ground, we also have to expand our services there, as we can't cope with all the demand we would have by CMO clients on manufacturing GMP compliant product.
Right.
Investing into growth, basically, that's the major change.
Yeah. Sascha, before I go to Benedikt, I know you talked about the number 4.5 to 5 tons per month as per your math. So what price can I put on that? Can I say 10 euros per gram as an average price? I mean, that would put it like a 600 million euro market right now. But what price would you take on that average on your 5 tons per month?
Let's say it's definitely not a 10. Well, it depends where you measure, right? So I think what is public is that patients in Germany right now can buy, let's say, in pharmacies in Germany somewhere between 7 and 14 euros. I think that's the number you would hear from most of us. So that's the new, let's say, selling price out of the pharmacy, which, as you can hear, the typical illicit market price is 10 in whatever currency. So it is basically competing also on that price level, and that's the number I would apply. On the current market size, and then it depends on each business model how much you have to shave off to get my numbers.
No, sure. No, but I'm talking at retail, the size of the market at retail. So when you say 7 to 14, do I take the midpoint or do I take like 8 euros because maybe it's weighted to the low end?
14 is the price to the patient, right? So I think the retail market is to be multiplied somewhere somewhere at an average of 6 to 7. But it's just a guesstimation; it's not official.
Sorry, right? Can you repeat the last number I didn't hear?
At 6 to 7 euro, like an average retail price, would be my guesstimation.
Right, that's very far down from the 14, right?
That's the consumer, right? So that's the patient buying from the pharmacy. You have VAT on that, you have the pharmacy margins, etc.
Yeah, no, I understand. But we measure the market size based on the retail price, right? So I would really take 14 euros on the 5 tons.
Yes.
Okay, everyone agree with that? Yep.
I mean, with the span, absolutely. I would be probably rather on the lower end, like maybe 8 euros as a without VAT times maybe the what is it, 50 tons roundabout as a run rate. So I would end up at 400 million, maybe 500 million already.
Right. Okay. Okay, we'll get to projections. Just in terms of the consumer, just understanding the consumer/patient in the cash market. And I'm sorry to use the word consumer, but in the cash market we see it more as a consumer. Anyone here, how do they choose the product, right? Do they go, is it word of mouth? Is it Reddit? Do they go to a website? Do they go to a pharmacy like Grunhorn and check their menu? Do they tell the doctor what to prescribe, or does the doctor play a big role? And I'm talking about the cash market only. Can pharmacies change the script once that patient brings the script with a specific brand to the pharmacy? Companies seem to be investing a lot on sales forces to influence doctors. But if in the cash market, the consumer is the one making the decision, what's the point of having that sales force? Just a lot of questions there, but I'll start with you, Sascha, on understanding better the consumer/patient behavior.
Well, if you talk about the cash
only, yeah, cash patient only.
I think that's the typical. Well, first of all, it is a market, and that market has segments, right? So there will be a segment looking for a certain quality. There will be a segment that looks for price. I think the totality of the segment looks for a minimum quality. And please don't forget, it's still a medical market. So whatever product enters the German market has to fulfill medical specification, right? So that's just a must. It's not even a decision criteria. So I think it's a mix of sustainable supply, availability, price, and quality. That's the decision drivers, right? And well, the doctor still has to prescribe, right? So yes, it is a patient journey which has informed patients in the cash segment and informed pharmacies, but the decision is taken by a doctor. Otherwise, it wouldn't be. And also, let's not forget, there's a cash market, but there's still a reimbursed market. There's still a medical market in the German field, which works a bit different. I'm not sure I agree that everybody's building sales force. I think it's only selected players who do that. We do it because we feel it's also a very sustainable and very valuable segment, as it's maybe giving a more strong carryover than the more volatile cash dried flower segment, right? So, but again, it's two very, very different markets, which we run through very, very different channels.
Right. And before I move on to Constantin, I mean, we get the monthly data in terms of reimbursements, right? BFARM shows that. I believe it's out only until March, so we don't know what's happened since then. But my understanding is that hasn't grown much, or do you disagree with that?
Well, it keeps the same pace as before, right? So, but the over proportional dynamic is more coming from the cash segment, and the reimbursed market is growing as it did before. So it's still a very decent and very interesting market. For a medical market, much more dynamic than any pain market or any antibiotic market. So it remains a more than interesting market, which we as Canify do not forget about. But let's say the growth dynamic is mostly coming from.
And I know it's hard to compare, but on average, the price in the reimbursed market versus the cash market on a per gram basis will be like 50% higher.
Well, it's less important, right? So it's the typical medical market because there's a doctor prescribing, there's a pharmacy filling, and there's most likely a reinsurer filling the cost, right? So it's not a price discussion there.
Right. Constantin, the same question for you if you can add in terms of how the patient chooses product, how they behave, especially in the cash market.
Yeah, I mean, we clearly see that there is a differentiation within the product. I don't think there's a brand loyalty. Unfortunately, nobody comes to Demecan because of the brand Demecan. They come to us if we import or cultivate good cannabis strains. Obviously, price matters, right? I'm now talking more about the premium high-end segment. The consumer/patient is very, very aware of what good quality product means. And it's our challenge to find out how to really grow a good product, what is really in demand, what is maybe top selling in the US and Canada, learn from that and then bring that to Germany and also develop our own product. So I think it's very much product driven. And then again, of course, you have to decide overall which price segment are you in, because I also agree with Sascha, most of the growth that we've seen in April, since April, is coming from the value segment, right? But we clearly see from our strain portfolio, there's one or two absolute blockbusters. They can sell at a high price. It's just good, very good products. And being a cultivator, we see when we do our R&D cultivation, some of the product just come out looking wonderfully, great haptic, wonderful smell. So we know that this is going to be a good top seller. And I think we need to focus a little more and look a little more at the product. And I can also say that the patient/consumer is more educated about what quality means.
Understood. Benedikt, the same question for you in terms of the cash market, but in particular, can pharmacies change the script? If I go there, with, I don't know, an Aurora script, and then the pharmacy doesn't have Aurora, then they change it to I don't know, a Demecan brand.
Yeah, so first of all, I do really agree to what Constantin and Sascha said. We believe it's a product and network driven sales. It's not a brand driven sales. We call it the power of potency, right? So if a high THC product is in the market, you can just get rid of it very easily. And at the same time, you also see that people are seeking a certain quality at a certain price point, or even a certain THC load per euro spent. Those are metrics that we see as a certain pattern. This also, again, applies to a certain segment, to a certain group of people within the cash segment, but it becomes really important. And at the same time, I also agree that brand does not play a role yet in the market. The question is if and when this could play a role. We just recently launched the Cookies brand as the exclusive licensee in the German market. So for the first time, we brought a solid, good product into the market. There's not a differentiating factor by THC load. It's just a solid and good product, but it has a certain brand. So we'll see and learn if this plays out well and plays a role for the patients, because as Constantin and Sascha said, there are many, many well-educated people in the market that are well-informed. They spread the word. There are organized patient groups in different forums, Reddit groups, whatever, Telegram chats. So you get the word to the patients, and they will also share those insights within their groups. With regards to your question, is it easy or is it happening in the market that prescriptions, for example, Aurora prescription is served with a Demecan prescription? I cannot say that this is happening regularly. I'm not a pharmacist. I really don't have insight of it. I hear it from time to time, but just in theory, there's a prescription, there is something stated on the prescription, and it shall be served by the pharmacist. And if this product is not available, it needs to be somehow clarified with the doctor, maybe with a wholesaler about the availability. And then at the end, it could end up in a change of a product. But it's, as far as I know, not common that there are pharmacists just exchanging products based on whatever they have in hands. With
just a quick follow-up there. I thought Intercure had the license for cookies in Germany.
So Intercure is an Israeli company, and they have the right to open cookies dispensaries. They published recently a press release on this topic. As of now, pharmacies in Germany are owned by individual persons, by pharmacists. So we'll see how this goes out. But when it comes to cannabis branded product under the cookies brand, we are the exclusive importer and distributor. And obviously, we would be definitely open to also sell the product to Intercure pharmacies if they exist.
Understood. Okay, got it. So look, the final subject is projections, and I'm gonna, we have a lot to cover there. I'm going to paraphrase also questions that are coming through Twitter, and I'll just read some of them, right? But paraphrasing. So, one question is, are the Canadian companies, given their legacy expertise, the best position to win in Germany, right? And I know that's a very broad, vague question. Number two, is this a market that's going to be very concentrated or fragmented? Is there going to be a lot of turnover on brands, or the brands that were there from the beginning a year ago will still be the winners now? So those are just questions coming from Twitter that I have paraphrased. In terms of, my questions, in terms of projections, if you can, in terms of size of the market, your best estimate of where we are in terms of tons per month by December 25, December 26, and what assumptions are you making about the number of patients, right? We keep talking that back in the day it was 80,000 patients, only 0.1%. We know that in Florida it's like 4%. I know they are not the same. It's a more pharmaceutical market in Germany. But your best estimates in terms of tonnage, month per month, by end of 25 and 26. Questions on market structure, right? Does the market consolidate or fragment? Do you expect companies to vertically integrate, as we've seen in Australia, right? Where they have like pretty much control from seed or import all the way to the clinic and the pharmacy. What do you think will determine winners and losers here? Another questions, let's stay with that. There's a lot there. So I'll start with Constantin first.
Okay, so that's last round to cover. Maybe market size overall. It's very hard to say, but what we can do is we can look at we can look at Florida, see the Florida market. It's a medical-only market with limited licenses. I think it's kind of comparable to Germany, and it's a fourth of the size of Germany. And I think the Florida market size is close to 2 billion. So I think endgame German medical cannabis market could be close to 8 billion euros, right? So that's something that, will we achieve that in 2025? Probably not. 26, maybe 27. I think that's a realistic outlook, what we can look for. And in the meantime, a lot has to happen on a regulatory basis. We have to look at model regions that we might see for recreational cannabis, maybe some movement in the European Union. So there's a lot of other factors that play into this whole dynamic. But I think we'll see a steady growth, and we're just at the beginning of it. We just started as of April 1st. Maybe one word on fragmentation or consolidation. I think if it hadn't been for the legalization, we would have seen more consolidation happening this year. Now we see more and more smaller players trying their luck in the market. So I think we'll see a year of fragmentation in the next 12 months, followed by very intense consolidation, because a lot of the players that we see coming now into the market, no way they have a valid business model. But everybody has to find out for themselves, and then we see some consolidation. There's also some bright new kids on the block with smart ideas. We can learn from them, and new alliances will be formed, and we'll see some more interesting deals, such as the one that we see with Benedikt and Cookies brand. It's betting on brands. Not a strong believer of that, but we see interesting movements of this. So long story short, a bit of fragmentation, 12 months, and then some consolidation for sure.
Thank you, Benedikt. The same set of questions for you.
Yeah, I do really agree what Constantin said. It'll be a multi-billion euro market. I'm also as bullish as Constantin on the outlook. I expect 2026 at least to be a 2 billion euro market, doubling again and again until end of 2028 or 9. I also agree 4, 5, 6, 7% of the population under a medical cannabis system is very realistic if you compare that to other states or countries that we just mentioned. And obviously, this also translates into tons. 100-ton won't be a surprising figure for us as market size, probably by end of next year or the year after. On the fragmentation and consolidation, I do really agree. Actually, I believe if we haven't had 1st of April and it took maybe 6 months longer, those zombie companies would have probably already disappeared. Now they are still around, and they have to somehow prove that they can also work in a market where maybe it is not a seller market anymore in the future. So it'll be tough for them. I also agree that there will be a very strong consolidation. You also ask for, are the Canadian companies in a good spot to win the European market? And I believe, also representing these 3 leading companies here on this discussion, already the German operators are probably ahead and are stronger in the market. And I mean by far. If we look back 5 years ago, Tilray, Canopy, and also Aurora, they did really a great job. They were pioneers really in the German market, but I think it changed a little bit. And the reason is clear, right? If they had to refocus, they had to also focus on their domestic market. There were also struggles on the capital markets for some of those firms. And we as the local operators are probably super strong in execution, know the culture here, know the regulatory framework, but there are still existing very strong partnerships with Canadians. So for example, we are exclusive partner of the Kronos Peace Naturals team, a very exciting company as well. They're looking into the German market, and the same for other Canadian operators. So I do really believe they will refocus again on this international opportunity rather soon, like also the US guys. Constantin, you had a great race recently in summer, also as far as I know, a US VC or US located fund. So this will come on the radar, and this will probably, with the multi-billion euro opportunity, will further help and support to grow the market.
Thank you. Just a note here, I mean, obviously, you know, in this call, we invited 3 speakers based in Germany, what I call German companies, right? We will have a separate call with people like CURLF, Aurora, Tilray, Canopy Growth, to hear their perspective, but we decided this one with these 3 speakers today. So Sascha, same question for you in terms of your projections.
Yeah, maybe before commenting on my projections, a bit piggybacking on Benedikt saying, so I would agree that it's maybe the German-based distributors right now understanding the regulations changing, but I wouldn't underestimate the legacy of the Canadian company when it comes to product quality and also cultivation volumes. So I think a wedding between the two means a partnership between those 2 qualities is maybe best suited for the European market. I agree when it comes to projection, pretty much with what my colleagues said. So I like the double of Benedikt. It's also easy to remember, and I would second it when it comes to dried flower market and what you call Pablo cash market. Let's not forget, although, that we still have a pure, I would call it pure medical market, even though all is medical market. So we alone will bring some innovation, and do believe that reimbursed market can also be pushed. And not so much competing with other cannabis products, but rather with painkillers and let's say other medicines. So we will be busy also expanding the cake. And last but not least, if you look around Germany, we are all also European operators. I think France will not much longer be able to defend themselves against some sort of medical regulations. We are already shipping into the UK. Poland has become a sizable market. Spain keeps discussing it. So I think I'm not so much seeing a European movement, but I do see more European countries coming online, at least medically. And that alone, not only the dynamic in the German, but also the opening of further markets will have us busy coping with growth, right? And I also agree there's still some consolidation to be done, right? So, and maybe it's already taken too much of time, and I see it rather sooner than later, even next year, that we will see some companies not being able to have the working capital to replenish.
Look, I'm going to take some more questions here from online. I know we're almost on the hour, but a few more minutes, if I may. You know, on the any views in terms of the impact on home growth and social clubs? Anyone, just one of you, so we can go.
That's funny that you ask, because I just started my home grow, and I don't know if you can see that. This is my own first grown and harvested blue sushi. It's a lot of fun to do it. I'm not going to do it again. So I think you know, the home grow, I don't think is there to stay. It's not convenient enough, and it's also quite expensive. And the social clubs, we haven't seen enough of that yet. And I'd be surprised if that is going to be a relevant factor. We do still have hopes for the so-called model regions, model projects, so limited areas in which you can actually have a recreational cannabis supply chain. But that will be determined, I think, within the next 4 to 6 weeks. And then it's either a yes or no, because we have elections coming up in Germany next September. So we'll know in the next couple of weeks.
Sascha, I'm going to ask you to expand on that same question. That was my next question. You know, when do we get pilot 2, if we get it at all, in what shape? Some people have talked about pilot 1 can be used for pilot 2. And then what happens after the next election? I know Constantin touched on it, but just expand. Sascha.
Yeah, so unfortunately, my answer will be rather short. I simply don't believe that we will see a pillar 2. I don't see the political composition of such kind that this decision might be taken before the next elections, which latest will be in 2015. So honestly, I don't see a pillar 2. When it comes to home cultivation, my pick on it is it existed before, it just has become legal. So I'm not sure it will have any impact. And then cannabis clubs, I'm fully with Constantin. We still have to see, right? So those clubs are still at the beginning. We all have run facilities in our lives. It takes a lot of years because you have a yield and a quality which you can bet on. There might be clubs which existed before in the dark light and now become legal as well. So they might be faster. And I'm not underestimating the quality which might come out of those clubs. But I think it will just add to the cake and not necessarily compete. So I see the medical frame as the major frame for the next 3 to 5 years.
Thank you. Benedikt, look, I'm going to read here a question online. The person says, I don't get it. How do the doctors know what the pharmacy inventory looks like?
Yeah, so very good question. But many pharmacies also have systems also integrated into clinics and like telemed providers. So there it's very easy and a very seamless process to see what's available. And for doctors, it's also easy if it's like a normal general practitioner to check in on some pharmacist websites or also at our platform to see what's available. So it's not a question about not getting the information. It's just about like knowing where to look for it.
Sascha, another question. Again, I'm reading here from online. So I'm reading, it says, is there a national website or centralized location that someone can follow to keep current on Germany's patients and or market size? I mean, I can follow up with also myself, but you give them whatever you can, Sascha, here. Yeah.
There is market research institutes whose numbers you can buy, and the most prominent one is maybe Inside Health, not doing disrespect to the colleagues of IQVIA. That might be the second source. They cover better the reimbursed market because it's easier for them to cover it, and the cash market, unfortunately, is not covered well. And we as insiders, the numbers we read, I think we don't really believe, especially when it comes to the self-paying market. So I'm afraid there's no official website. You can do your equation out of BfArM, the market researchers, us talking to each other, and then you might get somewhere close to the truth. But I think there is no official data you can actually pick the market size for. Right. My best guess for current patient size would be somewhere between 300 and 400,000 status today.
How many of those would be reimbursed? We know the reimbursed number, actually. We know it. It's a public number, right? I haven't checked the latest one, but...
Yeah, I think, well, the latest official figures were 150K, if I remember well, from end of last year. You have the normal growth, so normally you would be at 200, 250, and with that explosion, again, my guesstimation is 300 to 400.
Yeah, so 150 was a reimbursed, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that was 0.2%.
Like, you have to apply for reimbursement, not all the times it gets approved, so yeah.
Right, yeah. The one last one, Constantin, you spoke that you're going to double capacity that's coming in next year. So it seems that domestic production is not going to change much from here to a fourth quarter. So someone in Twitter asking, whatever growth you see in the fourth quarter, that growth, that delta would be supplied by imports, not by domestic production. Is that fair?
For the larger part this year, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So look, thank you everyone for joining and listening in. We think, look, we're very focused on Florida. Let's see what happens on Florida on November, on that Tuesday in November, but also let's see what happens after that, right? Governor, legislature, let's see how quickly things get started and in what shape. We are very focused on December 2nd, LJ hearing. But we think that there's a lot happening in Europe that's very relevant to stocks that you and we cover, right? So hence our forum today. So thank you very much to our three speakers. I'm going to ask you to make some closing remarks here if you want. I'll start with you, Benedikt.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was great. Super exciting times. Can't wait to really capture all the growth that's ahead. And Europe and Germany is the place to be for cannabis at the moment.
And if any investor, given that you're a private company, any investor, wants to try to participate in your story, Benedikt, how do they get in touch with you?
Easiest way to contact me is just via LinkedIn or using my email that can be shared.
Okay. Constantin?
Yeah, I can just repeat, it's an exciting day. Folks, look to Europe, look to Germany. This is where it's happening, absolutely.
And Sascha?
Yeah, same statement. It's fun to be in Europe these days if you're working cannabis. I'm now in it for 6 years, and that's the moment we were all waiting for. So enjoying it very much. Who wants to participate in the growth? We are actually in our pre-IPO capital round. So reach out to me. There's ways of participating what is happening.
Great. Thanks everyone for joining, and everyone have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.